manufacturers, big businesses, corporations, small businesses, we're all trying to shave off a millimeter here and there in a process, or we're trying to get the machine that makes us 2 seconds faster or whatever. That's what we spend our money on. I've done it in the world of dentistry and all the technology. I've been on the leading edge of technology and dentistry for years doing that. I'll bet you there's some numbers, though, that would tell me if I'd invest the same amount of time and money in my culture, getting my culture more productive, what the gain would be from that. Are there hard numbers in that world?
There's some really interesting research around it. So everything from productivity to profit to, McKinsey, Deloitte, Boston, they all have these really, holistic research. Some of them are worth looking at it with a very critical eye. Some of them, they do a good job of positioning the data in a way that makes it feel like it is a guaranteed, and that's never the case. But two simple data points that are really interesting and easy to hold on to: the cost of social exclusion. And this doctor, Steve Robbins out of Michigan State, does a whole bunch of work around this that's really, really interesting. If you take 4 numbers across any organization, you can put on a spreadsheet what it currently costs you to have an exclusionary culture. And that's total number of employees. You multiply that number by average salary plus benefits. You multiply that number by 0.3 or 30% of that workforce that feels like they're not a part of the dominant culture. And you multiply that number by 50%, which is about the average productivity impact that they lose. And those 4 numbers multiplied together will tell you exactly what you're currently leaving on the table as a result of being an exclusionary company, and so, or of having an exclusionary culture. And so the cost of social exclusion quantified in these really raw numbers is an unbelievable place to start to think about. So if a contract with, the folks over at New Wave is $20,000, let's say, and the potential cost savings that I could get from reducing my exclusionary culture from 30% to 20% is $1.2 million or whatever, does it make sense for me to think about whether this is an investment worth considering? You could even look at it from a employee retention standpoint. Employee turnovers, salaries under $100,000 cost about 130% in opportunity cost loss to the organization in filling that position. Anything that's above the $100,000 is like 200% of the cost of that person. If we help retain one person within your organization by identifying where culture is pushing in on them in the wrong way and then building solutions to address that, you get the cost of our contract value back several times in that one person. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of ways that you can start to look at the financial impact and indicators of this work. And the question then becomes, in an never-ending list of priorities and competitive dollars for one another in these different initiatives, yeah, for sure, there's a machine that we could bring it that will for sure shave another 0.1 second on our production line. For sure. Guaranteed, it's a machine, it operates in this way. Or you could think about if a fractional component of that investment was directed into tools, teams, partnerships, and relationships that helped you elevate levels of inclusion across your organization, decrease your levels of employee turnover, increase your levels of productivity, all through one relationship. Does that kind of investment justify prioritization? And we think the answer to that question is yes.
Oh my gosh. This is, and Emiliano, this is so applicable to almost every industry that relies on employees' goodwill and their sense of well-being in their daily work. I can tell you that we, in this dental practice that my husband and I ran for so many years, 12 to 17 employees, man, if somebody was crabby, if we started to notice that one employee had an impact on how the whole day went because they just had that attitude. Most people listening to this podcast will know what it feels like to have one person in the organization who sort of controls the emotional imbalance of the day from time to time. If we kept that person because we thought they had some special skill, we always lost the super nice people. So the quicker we dealt with the crabbiness, let's call it, the more really nice people we attracted and retained. And it was simple as that. That was a real, I would say it's a real part of the magic to our efficiency in a professional environment. I'd love to see how your concepts would apply to healthcare. I think there's a connection there that could be extraordinary with the research I've done on nursing and the way nurses are going out of that profession.
Yeah.
Because their environments are so unpleasant.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting. There's awesome studies and research done, particularly around nurses and levels of psychological safety and how that has an influence on not only their performance, but the elevation of a near miss culture and the challenging of situations that cause more or less harm to patients. And so, yeah, the difficult thing is if you don't know, because you don't measure, you don't have the means or the tools to ask the right questions to get to that data point, you can't do anything about it. And you might be walking by this chronic issue that you have every single day, being the best person that you can be, showing up with all of the right intentions and trying to prioritize the well-being and happiness of your people in all the ways that you can. You might be completely missing the mark. And so we really do believe the same way it makes sense to have all of these really powerful analytical technology-driven tools around our processes, our outputs, our performance measures. We think it makes the same sense to have something around your people. And so a lot of people will survey to get feedback or to get a badge, to be like, oh yeah, we got this badge, we can put it on the website, but nothing real is happening behind that. There's no real solution or intervention. There's no real expertise. There's no structured process behind that. We think there's a miss. And we think we have an opportunity to help support folks. And what's really cool is as we continue to grow our client base, as we continue to expand our relationships with academic institutions, we are starting to produce research that supports exactly the value proposition that we share. Take care of your people. It takes care of your business.